Hi. So we're installing a TruCool transmission cooler on our truck, our 92 Silverado truck, which was difficult to do. And everybody, I don't think this is a 4K unit, whatever, that's our for 40,000 gross vehicle weight. But anyway, it looks big. Had it for a while and trying to figure out. I had a transmission cooler here, and then Chevy and Burian, they put a new tranny in, and they disconnected it, never bothered to tell me, and they screwed up that thing. And so after a couple years, the tranny went out, and I'm putting a new one in myself. And then I found out, oh, the tranny cooler that was here wasn't hooked up. Anyway, so we got this big, large for TruCool Max unit. We got that. The thing is that you have your air conditioner unit right here, and as you can see, there isn't any room to stick a cooler there. Behind this, there's no room. And our bumper, our grill, you know, we don't have the wishbone metal that comes down, and our grill bolts on. There's bolts that go in on the bottom, and a bolt here, a bolt there, and a bolt further down, and there's bolts over there. And you can't put this on because if I put it across, I won't be able to fasten the grill and the lights. So we looked at this whole thing, and we ended up pulling the radiator, and we used some stuff, and we measured, and it's still pretty tight. But this is a 1/4-inch steel. And what's happening, let's move this right here, thank you. So what we did is we drilled a hole. This hole here we drilled, that one already existed, but we couldn't use it. It's not a space. So we drilled this hole, and we drilled that hole, and over here what's with that? There it goes. Over here, I drilled a hole up here, and a hole here, and so this 1/4-inch steel goes across. You put fasteners in here. The 1/4-inch steel fits behind. See, it goes where my finger can. I don't see. There's so much sun. There's my finger. Okay, so the 1/4-inch steel bars go back here, and this side here faces toward our radiator. And we also created a couple 1/4-inch out of the same steel. We end up making some spacers. Could have just used washers, but that might have been easier because it fits really tight to the radiator. Right now it will fit, but you know, it's so tight to the radiator, and we have a couple little marks. So I'm like, I just back it off a hair, and we have that ability to do. And so fitting here, it fits in the space between the condenser and the radiator. So, and then of course I got some, will you hold that up, sweetie? This way, set it down. I got some 90-degree angle fittings, so the hose will come off here, hose will come off here. I'm just going to drill a hole, you know, like around here or so, or there, random, just a hole, to do a wire tie to secure this hose so it can't go flopping, and then this hose, and they'll both just go off, and I'm going to put them in series with the new radiator that we got, and everything will work. But this fits, so if you wanted to put it in on your truck, if you have a 92 or a 90, something with this bar that comes down, you can use some thick steel, and of course, you know, so you can use some steel and move it here, and I'm going to put the spacer here behind this part right here so that it will just offset it this way a little bit more toward the front of the truck, and it won't be quite as tight to the radiator. And I still have, I'm going to just grind down these nuts, and I'll have the room, a little bit of room with the condenser. It's a tight space. So yes, it's going to be sandwiched between the condenser and the radiator, but I can't put it in here. And so he'll get it in, and I just wanted you to see how that would go. So you see it's here. I had to undo these clamps so I could drill a hole. And there we go. And that's it. So one other quickie little thing. I had to grind. I taped off this whole thing so I didn't get stuff in it. And then each one of these metal brackets, I already had the metal here attached. And I used a disc sander and carefully ground this down to basically be just flush with this. I mean, this is slightly high. This one, it just slightly cut the edge. You know, they're even, because the little bit that it was sticking up hit the radiator when the radiator, and you couldn't put it in it. The spacing narrows as you go down toward the bottom, and it was doing that. So where are my spacers? And my spacers, 1/4 inch steel, same steel that I made. I'm just painting them, but the spacers are here. I'm going to paint these red on this side or green, but the spacers go, and we'll just put them behind the behind this here, and they'll just offset it a little closer to the condenser. And then I'm going to grind that nut down here. I threaded these. This is a thread, 1/4 inch 20 thread. So these are screwed in. I'm just putting a nut on here for redundancy. So anyway, that's that. We made sure it was a project. You know, the first thing we did was take the top, this piece here, and we you know, we got it cut for a length, and then we set it up, and we marked where to drill holes, and we drilled one hole, and then we held it up on the truck, and I drilled a hole. We bolted it in, and then we made our mark on the other end, drilled that hole, blah, blah, blah. Then we got that all done. Then we set it on here, and we looked at where it fit in the truck, and we marked, and then we drilled this one, a hole here that we threaded in. We threaded it so it was sitting, and then we got it fastened in on this. Then we center punch, we made a mark here, and then we took the whole thing off. Then we drilled this hole, then we threaded it. That way we didn't have, oh, it's a little off, and now we won't thread. So then we had the whole thing here threaded on this side. Then we took a piece, second piece, matched it to this one lengthwise, and then you basically kind of squared it up. I mean, the ends here aren't totally square. And then we took it and we laid it down even here, and we made a mark, and we drilled a hole on the drill press so it's straight, and then we threaded it, and then we fastened it. So we had this piece in and fastened, and then we took this one and we fastened it in, and then we went and took this. Okay, where's this hole go? Center punched it, took the thing off, drilled another hole, and then threaded it so that it matched. Then we could take this thing. Then we went and we said, okay, where's it go? We put it, we put it up. We made a mark. Okay, the holes will be about here, blah, blah, blah. Because we had this end fastened in. So we said, made a mark on here. We're going to drill a hole here. Made a mark here. We're going to drill a hole there. Take the thing off. Unfasten this stuff. And then we just took the thing and we drilled a hole. Actually, that's wrong. We had it, a whole thing up. This was fastened, and then I just drilled the hole and cleaned it up through the where on the truck on both sides. So these two holes here were done. It's been a while trying to figure out so we don't have things not match, and I got to weld them closed and re-drill it, just so everything just worked. And checking the size, I used a thin piece of straw. I used this plastic straw and cut it and stuff, and okay, this is the dimension, because down between the radiator and everything else, how much room do you got? You can't get some calipers down there, can't get drilled, so I used the straw and needle nose pliers. Okay, that's the amount of room. You cut it till you fit, but then the thing, it turns out it's tapers. And so, like I said, I got my spacers. They're going to offset it just a little bit. Everything will be fine, and there you go. Alrighty, so we have the TruCool unit in, and like I explained, there is no room for it to go between here and the condenser. I mean, it won't fit. So here's our bracket here, and we have some spacers. Oh, they're out of the bag, which is great. Hold up, get them out of there. On here. So we have these spacers here. They're just 1/4-inch thick steel, and I put one here, and we have one here on this side, which just moves the cooler this way a little bit closer to the condenser. And so there it is. It is just tight, but it doesn't touch the condenser. That's like virtually impossible to see, but it doesn't. It's just way tight. And the radiator will fit. And now my lovely wife is going to record. I'll fasten the other two brackets so you can see that. I don't need to show that the radiator comes on down here. The radiator will fit, and we'll do hoses. We actually don't have the fittings yet because I ordered them from Amazon and they haven't arrived. So we're going to take one of these things, and I got to take the so rather than having this bracket flush against that, the metal here, flush against that, we take the bracket and then we get to go like that. That went through the hole that we had drilled. And you see it just moves it back a little. So then we do our fastener. And there is clearance for the fasteners because the radiator doesn't go that far. The radiator basically stops right about here, and the fasteners are just over. So I'm not going to completely tighten that down because I don't have the other. We got to do this one, and then it will be fastened in. And yeah, when the hose clamps come, I may be able to turn this in. I doubt if I can turn it in without taking it off again, I'll do that. Right now we're putting it on just as a safe place because I don't have a shop. And, you know, the truck is disintegrated all apart. So we take this. I just, you know, painted them a couple colors. Up here, these are both black, but here on the bottom it's one color, and here on the top it's another color, blue and green. And it's color coded for how it fits because they are just spacers, but the brackets even on the TruCool, they're not lined up. They're the brackets where the fasteners, they're offset off the cooler, so you can't, you have, you know, it's a there's a hole there. I think we made this be too tight. Where's that pin punch? I wonder if this would work.
It's too big.
Where's that pin punch?
On the table.
Drift pin. There we go. And then, well, we put this down, we fasten the screws, and the nuts. And we moved it over. But it's not touching the condenser, and it won't touch the radiator. So I don't know what this is. I did the lower one. I'm going to get the ratchet. My only problem, well, one of my many problems, is this has a, I got a Phillips screw. So, what can I say? So, sweetie, that's, you know, so there you go. That's, you can see, here it is. So, this is you know, if you use some careful preparation and measurements and a 1/4 inch thick steel, which they sell as 1/4 inch. It's probably not quite a quarter. They sell as flat stock and blah blah blah. You can mount it. It will fit between the and if you sand off the brackets that stick out a little bit from the cooler so they're just even with the edge. See this edge here, because the radiator comes down close here, which is also why we moved it over. We're just trying to center it. So there you go. You can mount them there.